Retail trader here. What I'm going to talk about in this video is why I believe that options, and when I say options, I mean stock options, are the best trading vehicle. And the reason why I think that the best trading vehicle is going to be broken down in this particular video, it's going to be a persuasive type video. I'm trying to get you to see my side of the argument. I'm going to give you facts, but I'm also going to give you my opinion. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want new people in this space that see this video, whether today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, to understand what is going to put them in the best position to be successful in this trading space. Because as a new trader coming into this space, you're going to get exposed to a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different people selling you things, a lot of different people trying to do whatever they're doing that supports their business model. However, it may not be the best thing for you. And what you'll find is that many people have no desire for you to have longevity in the space. Their goal is to get as much money as they can out of you before you quit and go do something else. Do you want to learn how to trade? If you do, I would encourage you to go into the option space. Here's one of the reasons: low cost barrier. When you look at the other trading environments, the cost barrier normally is going to be higher than stock options. And one of the reasons why I am a fan of options is because of a low cost barrier. You do not need thousands of dollars to start trading options. There's a lot of ways to make money inside the United States. What keeps people out of a lot of different environments is what we call the barrier to entry, where they can't come up with the capital needed to involve themselves in certain spaces. What I like about the options market is you don't need a ridiculous amount of money. You don't even need thousands of dollars to get exposure to the space. And you don't need a broker to give you margin to get exposed to the space. Can be traded with US brokers. This is really, really important, because US brokers are going to give you a level of security as a trader that you won't get with overseas or off-seas brokers. And many people on the internet are sending people that are new to off-seas or overseas brokers. And when something goes wrong, these new people don't understand there's nobody for you to get in contact with. I've never had any issue with a US broker. I've known people to have major issues with off-seas or overseas brokers. And as a newbie, you have to ask yourself, see, this is the type of environment I try to create for somebody new. How can we make things as seamless as possible so you can focus on learning and trading and not trying to manage these relationships with your brokers? Because that can be a whole other headache for you, where you are spending so much time trying to go back and forth with this broker, you can't focus on learning and trading. Third one, connected to US stocks, also really, really important. When you're trading these other securities or these other asset classes, they're not connected to US stocks, which means that there's often very little discovery around what's going on. That's going to be the first thing. When I say discovery for new people, it means that you're not able to really get a view of what's actually going on with that situation. Or because you're new, you don't understand how to find inefficiency in those areas. It's easy to find inefficiency in a US stock. Let me give an example. NVIDIA does an earnings and says that we're going to make, I don't know, it was $15 billion this quarter, and they were expected to make like 8. What does that immediately mean? It means NVIDIA is too cheap. That then means everybody needs to start buying it. When you don't understand how markets really work because you're new to the space, you will struggle finding an inefficiency in a market that's going to be another asset class outside of US stocks, because it won't be as overt. You're going to be trained is that you can find these inefficiencies in the markets by looking at a chart. The problem is, and the problem that you're going to run into, is you don't understand enough about markets to really make that work for you. 4, leverage is baked into the instrument. That's the cheat code. The reason why I went into teaching people about options is this. I heard about options like, I don't know, maybe 2011, 2012. I was at my grandfather's funeral in Chicago. My uncle told me about it. He lived in Arizona at that time, but we never took it far. I didn't know anything about it. I knew a little bit about buying stocks. I knew nothing about stock options. This is probably 2010, 2011, maybe 2012. I found out again about options like 2014. And when I really started to understand how they actually worked, I said, how come nobody told me about this my whole life? Because they've been around my whole life. The derivatives market's been around forever. And I said, nobody told me that this space existed. And I was making $100, $200 trades and making $600, $700 in one day. Like the money actually was easy to make at that time. Now, everybody wasn't trading like they are now. This was 2014, 2015. I did a GOD trade off of Federal Reserve monetary policy changing. And I made like $600, $700. And I said to myself, how come no one ever introduced me to this space? The cheat code about options is leverage. And the leverage is baked into the instrument. When you're going into these other asset classes, you're asking that broker to give you leverage. As an options trader, you're not asking anybody to give you leverage. I don't have to shop and figure out, well, what broker gives me the most leverage? I don't have to do that. It's already baked into the instrument. And when you look at these other asset classes, the reason why a lot of people are trading overseas with offshore brokers is because they offer more leverage. Most brokers in the United States, I don't think they can give you more than 1 to 50. I know people overseas are trading 1 to 500, 1 to 1,000. Because the leverage is not baked into the instrument that they're trading. As an options trader, your leverage is baked in. Therefore, you can get what we call an asymmetrical return or an exponential return on your initial trade. This is how I was getting with the Carvana trades, getting 600 and 700% returns. I know people that traded NVIDIA right before they had that really, really strong run up. They literally pulled over 1,000% on their returns because it's baked into the instrument because of what we call volatility. That's the cheat code of the options market. We were speaking to some traders in a group now. It's called Stock Market Lions. And you probably want to reach out to some of the administrators seeking you get into that group if you actually are a serious trader and you're serious about trading. And we were discussing how if you had shorted Lululemon, I think that's the name of the company. Its ticker is going to be Lulu. If you had shorted that with about $50,000 over the last 365 days, you'd be sitting on about $1 million right now. You only get that type of exposure and those type of asymmetrical returns with options. And what I've tried to get people to understand in this option space is if you just learn this space and you put the time in and you actually learn how to trade and you determine what your edge is, the opportunity will present itself for you to make chunks of money. And where I lose most people is in the time. Because they're coming in with an idea about how things should look because they were grown people before they ever met me. They have all these ideas about how things should work. And what they try to do is they try to take those ideas and impose them on this market, and it never works. A lot of people are out here chasing their tail. They're trying to get rich quick. They're trying to get rich in 60 days. They're trying to get rich buying junk stocks. They're doing all these things instead of doing what they've been trained to do, which is learn the space, apply yourself, and the opportunity will present itself, and then you will know what to do. But if you haven't prepared yourself and you have not put yourself in position because you don't have enough time in the market, you won't know what to do. And so then the opportunity will pass you by. And many people, they just don't believe me when I tell them that because, again, they're coming in with their own ideas about the space. And they're going to do what they want. They're going to do what they want to do, which is cool. You have a right to do that. You're grown. I don't teach children. But this is what I've tried to persuade people about this particular space. It's that powerful. And when I realized how powerful it was, I was like, how come nobody told me this? I think most people don't really realize how powerful the option space is. To me, out of all the asset classes, it's the most powerful. Because let me tell you something real quick. I was going to get into this later, but I'm going to get into it now. I know a guy on Twitter who has a $50,000, really it's bigger than that, but he takes $50,000 and he'll go get like a 5% move and he'll pull out $3,000, $4,000. He'll wake up the next day, he'll do another 50,000. He's not day trading though. He's swing trading, but once he gets his 5-6%, he cuts it. Make his little $3,000, $4,000 and he cuts it. He's not a day trader, he's a swing trader. It's because he has a $50,000. Once you can get as an options trader, once you can get a certain amount of a bankroll, trading starts to get real easy because you now can make your money in chunks. Trading starts to get easy. I got a 100% return on XOM puts because of that situation with Iran. If I would have taken out of that 50, let's say $10,000, I'd have been up another $10,000 minus the little bit of slippage that you're going to get. And that would have been let's say maybe a 90-day trade. Now, some of that's too long for some of y'all to make $10,000. But a lot of people going to work every day for 90 days and they're not going to make 10 grand. That's a majority of the U.S. population. You could have made 10 grand just placing a trade, going about your business, and letting XOM come down from those highs. That was a 100% return I got on Friday. That's the power of this market. And I think for many people, because they won't stay in the space long enough to actually see it and realize it, when I tell it to them, they don't believe me. And because they have this idea in their head about how markets work and how things should work, yada, 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 before they ever get to me, what they want to do is make the market match the story that's going on inside their head. And they're convinced that they're going to do that. And then they try to make me agree with the story that's inside their head. And I'm not going to, because I already had a story before I ever met you. Anybody that really gets to know me understands that I have a high level of conviction around what I'm doing. And what I notice is that most people don't have a high level of conviction around what they're doing. Every 60, 90, 120 days, they're doing something different. If you really, really get to know me, truly get to know me, you know I have a high level of conviction around what I'm doing. Now, what they have to do is decide whether or not they're going to go along with me. Because people will tell you all the time, they want somebody that has a purpose. They want somebody that has results in what they're doing. They want somebody that's not just potential. But then when you actually get dead serious like this with it.
Close the door. Be seated. Do you know how this war will end, Lieutenant? The portrait will be unhung, and the man will be hung. I'm engaged in high treason with all means available to me. Can I count you in?
For anything, sir. Anything at all.
They realize they don't want that level of serious. It just sounds good when they say it on the internet. Just like it just sounds good when that pastor tells you on the sermon that you need to get a man with an assignment. And then when you run into a man with an assignment, you realize that it only sounds good when the pastor say it, so I can whoop it up. In real life, it don't sound good. Just sound good when the pastor say it, give you something to clap, emote about, but in real life, it don't really sound good. And what I want you to understand is that I believe that most people just have not seen what options really can do. They've never seen it in real life. And again, they're bringing in these ideas. If you talk to me, I don't talk about the Bilderberger Group. I don't talk about the Trilateral Commission. I don't talk about the central bankers. I don't talk about any of that because that's not what people's problems is. I don't talk about a lot of the stuff that a lot of people talk about because in reality, that's not your real problem. I talk about economic warfare because in reality, that's your real problem. And again, what people do is they come to me with their stuff and they try to get me to believe in their stuff. And I don't believe in that because that's not your problem. You can go study everything you want to study about central bankers and how they created the Federal Reserve and yada, yada, yada. And if you only make $40,000 a year and you only made $40,000 a year over the past decade, none of that changes because you know that. Nothing changes. The question is, are you going to do something about the economic warfare that you're involved in? You're not going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. If you ever go watch this movie called Casino, and the lead character was complaining about another character, and he was talking to this other guy, and he was like, hey, the problem is with so-and-so and so-and-so. The dude told him, hey, man, that guy, he's not going anywhere. Because you're not in a position to get rid of him, it's going to take people from higher up to decide to get rid of that guy. So you might as well don't even worry about it. Worrying about the central bank is the biggest waste of time in the world because they're not going anywhere. You're going to be gone before them. Worrying about the Bilderberg Commission and worrying about the Trilateral Commission and worrying about the people over there in the West Coast that go dance around the aisle, biggest waste of time. Because after you get done worrying about them, now what's going to happen? But again, these are the ideas you have in your head about how this world actually works. So when I talk to you about economic warfare, because that's not the idea you have in your head, you don't have a point of reference for that. Because you don't believe that you're experiencing economic warfare. You believe it's the central bank is the reason why you can't buy a house. You believe that. So that's what you go with. So I've had to understand that I'm dealing with a lot of people that are coming to me and they have this story inside their head. You remember when all those black people's on YouTube talking about if you just know law, your whole life will go perfect? And I'm like, well, if y'all know so much law, how come y'all don't help get some of these dudes off these cases that got railroaded in jail? Then they stop talking. Or the dudes on YouTube that was telling everybody, if you just stop calling yourself black, if you don't call yourself black, everything will work out all right. And Anglo-Saxons will stop being Anglo-Saxons if you just stop calling yourself black. Where are those people at now? Because that was never the reality of the situation. So the reason why I've stood the test of time is because what I'm talking about is real. The reason why a lot of y'all show up and every 6 months you're talking about something different, because you wait for somebody else to tell you what to talk about. That's the difference between me and you. Why I chose to teach options trading. Most people don't have thousands to start an account. They don't. They do not have thousands of dollars to start an account. I know that. I learned from this guy, and I know Erica knows who this guy is. I think his name is Jerome Maldonado, big builder. And he was doing a teaching that I watched like 2-3 days ago. And he was talking about, this was old. It's probably been out 2 years. This is on his YouTube. And he was saying, don't build houses for poor people. They don't have no money anyway. He said, don't build houses for like the super elite people. He said, they don't buy enough houses anyway. He said, build houses for people that are looking to buy a house over this dollar amount, but under this dollar amount. He says, that's where you can get paid, but there's enough inventory there for you to really make money. You can build 3 or 4 houses a year. When I first started what I was doing, I was really going after working class people because I understood they had never been exposed to the markets. So they don't have thousands to start an account. If you want to trade with, I have a broker I trade in the asset class with. If I want to take a full position with that broker, I got to put up $5,000 because I'm trading on margin. I got to put up $5,000 if I want to take a full position in what I'm trading. Now I can go overseas and put up less money, but can have issues with that because if they steal my money, there's nothing I can do about it. But with this US-based broker and another asset class to trade a full position, which is really how you make money, you got to trade a full position. I got to put up $5,000 up front and allow that broker to see I got $5,000. And I may have to add to it based on how the position moves or the broker will close my position out. But I got to come up with $5,000. Most of y'all don't have an extra $5,000. You don't. On top of that, you now got $5,000. Now you still got to add to it to trade. Because again, if the position moves, the broker gonna say we need some more money. Oh, so we're going to close the position out. That's why I chose to teach options trading. So when you start looking at these other asset classes where you need margin to trade, you need to find out before you really start going into it, but you don't even know to ask the question because you're so new to the space. You know now, but your favorite influencer who's showing you their lifestyle and and telling you I got to trade in this asset class, and you don't know you're going to need $5,000 to $10,000 to really participate in that. Because most people don't have thousands to start an account. They don't. 2, until you know how to trade in real life, the amount of money in your account is insignificant. You have to lose money in this space to learn how to trade. It is impossible to learn how to trade and not lose money in this space. This is not like a job. See, you don't lose money in a job. You can lose the job, but you don't lose money because you just don't make any more money. As a trader, you're going to have to lose money to learn how to trade. I've made mistakes with money as a trader. That's why I would never let my only income stream be trading. I don't care. I don't care how much money I make trading. I'm going to do something else to make some more money. And I've learned this from guys that have made millions of dollars trading overseas firms, doing a lot of, I would call, account stacking. And I know how that works. That's something else they're not teaching you newbies in these other asset classes, that they're making so much money because they're stacking accounts. You can't do that with US brokers. They're not going to play that game with you. But you can do that with these overseas guys because they bring so much money to that overseas broker. That overseas broker don't care that they do that. That's really how they do it. They just don't tell you that. I know because I know how this stuff works. And so what I want you to understand is that you're going to have to give up some money in this space to really learn how to trade. The goal of a lot of these people is to get as much money as they can out of you early and have you wash out and never stand the test of time. It's a reason why people have been around me in this space going on 6 years. You want to know why? Because I never tried to fleece them. That wasn't the business model. The business model wasn't to fleece people and get all I can get out of them in year 1 and let them figure it out after that, and I go on about my business because I'm always recycling my audience. That wasn't the goal. The goal was always for people to have longevity in this space because I know that's the only thing that's going to keep you around if you learn how to have longevity. I used to tell this to Mecca all the time. I say, look at Tupac and look at Snoop. Snoop realized at a certain part of his career, if I keep doing certain stuff, I ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna die here. These people gonna kill me because you was running with killers. They don't care nothing about that rap stuff. You get into a certain situation with them, they gonna kill you because you running with killers. Pac thought it was cool to run with killers. What happened? He ended up dead. So Pac had no longevity. He died at 25. Snoop, 50, pushing 60, whatever. He in his 50s, and he's still doing this thing because Snoop realized I have to stop doing certain stuff just to keep longevity. Because he knew that the plan I was taught on the West Coast is not a plan for longevity, it's a plan to get me shot. So the goal was always to make sure that y'all had longevity. So I don't tell people you need to have $10,000 in account file because I know all you're going to do is burn through that money. Because you got to lose money in this game to learn how to trade. There's no other way to learn how to trade. Even as a paper trader, you're going to lose money on paper trades. And I'm a fan of paper trade. You're going to lose money on paper trades. You got to take losses in this game to learn what you're doing. And you have to go through stuff to learn what you're doing. What they don't tell a lot of people in the real estate space is you got to take losses in real estate to learn what you're doing. It's a brother out of Charlotte. He's been on Erica's channel. He just did a video about how he lost X amount of money with a contractor. He's not the first and he's not the last. I don't know anybody that's been in real estate for an extended period of time that has not lost money going back and forth with a contractor. It's part of the game. Next one, U.S. brokers. Why do I teach options trading? Because you can trade with a U.S. broker. You don't have to go overseas to trade options. You don't have to go overseas to really get the leverage you really need to make money. People will tell you if you're trading certain asset classes, you can't trade U.S. because you'll never get enough leverage to make money. So they just push everybody overseas. U.S. stocks. You can trade U.S. stocks where you can understand really how to find the inefficiency. And it's easier and it's more overt than other asset classes that you really don't understand. A lot of y'all trying to make money trading these cryptos and you don't even know the name of the crypto. It's going to be difficult for you to find the inefficiency because you don't even really know what's going on in that space. Leverage that can create asymmetrical returns. Options are the only asset to where the leverage is already baked into it to create the asymmetrical returns. It's the only one. Doesn't exist anywhere else. And the reason why I can say that is because I've studied this space, I know this space, I spent the amount of time, and I actually would get up in person and I can break the whole options thing down to you. I'm not just in the comments or in the chat. I do this in real life. And if you sit down and talk to me about trading, I can talk. I won't talk about how I make millions of dollars, but I know this space. Why? Because I do this in real life. Online trading space is full of people who can't trade. That's a fact. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I'm going to eventually migrate out of this space. Will I still teach some people? Yes, but it's not going to be at the same capacity. Because why? I didn't realize until I spent a certain amount of time is that it's full of people who can't trade. The biggest people in the space cannot trade. You got fund managers with YouTubes. Their YouTube is bigger than their fund manager business, but they can't trade, but they talk about trading all the time because that's what gets them the clicks, the likes, and the views. I know a fund manager, he probably making $1 million a year off his YouTube. He don't make $1 million a year managing his little fund. I guarantee he don't, because he got to sign people into it. He got to get clients, and he don't make $1 million a year doing that. But he probably make $1 million a year off his YouTube. He talk about trading a lot. He can't trade though. Scam hunters who can't trade. The people that's always trying to find somebody scamming, but they can't trade. If you sit down and try to talk about trading, they wouldn't know where to start. But everybody's a scammer. Then you got the trading influencers who can't trade, which is the largest group of people in this space. There's a guy out of New York City. He just released a video today talking about this Forex trader who can't trade. And it's obvious because the numbers the guy's putting up don't even make sense. Like, you have to be a total newbie to think that this guy's making the money that he's making trading. So he knows his market. If you hang around this guy, he knows you're only hanging around me because you don't know any better. Because once you learn how the space works, you'll realize this guy's numbers don't make sense. Nobody makes this type of money trading like this. It's just not possible. Therefore, he only attracts people that don't know anything. Because if you know anything, you'll look at this guy and be like, this can't be real. It can't be. That's his marketing. It's discriminatory. It discriminates against people that know something. You got the African chick who lies about her age. Sorry for the typo. This chick telling people she in her early 20s. Okay. So I don't believe that she can trade because she already coming out the gate telling me she younger than what she really is. You got pretty black chicks who sell lifestyle and trading. That's real big on YouTube, TikTok. Good looking women. But they sell trading and lifestyle. But they can't trade either. I can watch their videos and tell they can't trade. They take these real general broad topics and they just talk about it. And the goal is to get you to sign up to their brokerage, which is overseas, off-seas brokerage, and to go into their Discord, and you're going to pay a monthly fee to be the Discord. The model now is don't even sell a course. Is to sell a community and get the money out of the person in the community instead of them getting to pay the money up front to buy the course. Because there's resistance to that because the person knows they don't know nothing. But they believe if I hang out in this Discord long enough, I can figure out what's going on. That's the model now. New wave will be couples trading. That's going to be the new wave. Watch what I tell you. It's going to be having couples together and their lifestyle goals, and they're going to trade. They also don't know what they're talking about. But again, their audience is new people. The money in this space is not people like me. Because for you to trade, for you to teach me something, you got to really know your stuff. So you got to be like Dr. Chaz. Most people don't want to spend that much time, money, and energy to become an expert in the space to teach somebody else that knows what they're doing. The money's in teaching people that don't know anything. That's where the real money's at. So the new wave is going to be couples trading. That's going to be the wave. We saw this in the MLM space for the past 25, 30 years. It still works. That's going to be the new wave in trading. Two couples or two people, they're a couple. They're going to trade together. They're going to teach together too. Then you got the goofy Anglo dudes, right? They make a lot of money in this space. And you got the goofy Asian dudes. They make a lot of money because nobody questions them. Y'all have been programmed to where if an Anglo says it's 1, 2, 3, y'all repeat back 1, 2, 3. Y'all never question it. Because you've been socialized and programmed that they tell you what time it is. Then you got the goofy Asian dudes, and we know y'all don't question them because y'all been socialized and believe they smart. So whatever they say, it makes sense. That's how that dude ran that crypto scam. That nobody questioned him because he was Asian. Okay. So the question is, what story is in your head? Marketing is about repeating the story back to you that is in your head. This is why when you come into this space and you already have these narratives that you believe that you picked up over life about all these different things, it can stop you from learning what you need to learn because you believe you know something that you don't know. People would show up to me and say, I want to learn how to trade, but I need to learn charts. I would tell them, good luck. Because you don't know how to trade, but you're going to tell me what you need to learn. How do you know what you need to learn? You can't trade. I can trade. How do you know what you need to learn? You don't know. So you have this story in your head from wherever that you need to learn charts, but you don't know how to trade. So how do you know what you need to learn? How come you don't think you need to learn supply and demand and what that actually means? I don't mean on a stock chart, I mean the actual principle of supply and demand. How come you don't believe that? Or I need to learn what the market makers are doing. How you know you need to learn that? So marketing, really good marketing is about repeating the story back to you that's in your head. If you think trading is going to the club, eating out every day, driving top line BMW, doing a bunch of Instagram, taking a bunch of pictures, and you think that's what trading is, that's what's going to get sold back to you. There's this Anglo dude from the UK. He can trade in real life. He also pitches a lot of these little scammy prop firms, but he can actually trade. And he talked about it. I can talk to somebody for 5 minutes, tell whether or not they can trade. So can I. But going back to what we were saying, marketing is about repeating the story back to you that is in your head. What story is in your head that you're repeating to yourself? Because often that is how you're going to respond to marketing. If you believe that trading is just about being pretty and talking about how you made $20,000 a day and talking about how you went on a vacation and you want to be that kind of person, that's what you're going to be attracted to. So somebody telling you that you need to listen to earnings calls and you need to read 30 minutes a day, that's not the story in your head. Many of you don't believe you need to read ever unless it's a text. That's not the story that's in your head. So you're not going to be responsive to that marketing. If you think trading is about doing nothing and making money, you will be receptive to that marketing. If you think you know something about the markets that you do not know, you will be receptive to that marketing. Again, you can't sit down and talk to me about central banks. You cannot sit down and talk to me about devaluation of the dollar. You can't sit down and talk to me about the Bilderberg and the Trilderberg and the Milderberg and the Filderberg. I don't care about any of that stuff. That's not your problem. Your problem is you don't have enough money. You think the bank's going to go back to 10% returns? It's not going to happen. They're not going back to that. We're not going back to the 80s and the 70s. We're not going back to the 60s. We're not going back to houses cost $150,000. We're not going back to that. If we do, it's going to take you with it. Believe me. Let me explain something to you. If you are at the bottom of society, income-wise, if there's going to be an economic collapse, you're going to get taken down with it. So if they're going to reset all the prices, you're going to get reset back to zero. Now, you don't believe that because that's not the story that's going on inside your head. You believe that if you just learn enough about the central bank, it's going to solve all your problems. God bless you. I hope it works out for you. You believe if you just learn about the Bilderberger group, it's going to solve all your problems. God bless you. I hope it works out for you. Because if you talk, I don't talk about any of that stuff because it don't change anything. If you think you know something about the markets that you do not know, which is the majority of you, you will be receptive to that marketing. So a guy telling you that dollars are worthless, but buy stuff for me and give me dollars, you're receptive to it because you believe the dollar's worthless. You showed up believing that. But buy things for me and give me dollars. There's nothing I'm going to say that's going to convince you different. Because now it becomes I'm proving you wrong. And let me explain something to you. Proving you wrong is terrible marketing. That's the worst marketing in the world. People want to be right. None of these big YouTubers have a channel about proving their audience wrong. It's about making their audience feel right. Proving people wrong is the worst marketing in the world. That is the worst marketing in the world. So if you believe that the dollar's worthless, you'll give a guy dollars to buy his stuff while the dollar's worthless. Because you believe that. Dollar has no value. Cool. God bless you. When all of that is over, you are out of the space and you still don't know how to trade. So when you get done running with these people, talking about the Mildeberg, the Filderberg, the Kildeberg, you run through your money, you out of the space and you still don't know how to trade. When you get done talking to the Texas dude who does the voices on the radio, right, who's made himself a double-digit millionaire, got big paper, okay? When you get done with that, you out of the space, you still don't know how to trade. You still don't know because you think you know something that you do not know. But again, terrible marketing is making you feel like you're wrong. Good marketing is making you think you're right, confirming your beliefs, whatever they are. Whatever they are. People that think there's reptilians under the earth confirm they believe. Yeah, there's reptilians under the earth and they're going to take over the world. Just sell it to them. That's what they want to believe. And let's get this money. That's the game. That's what we're in. Options, in my opinion, are still the best vehicle for new traders based on my knowledge and time in this space. Why? Low cost barrier, can be traded with U.S. brokers, connected to U.S. stocks, leverage is baked into the instrument. If you are a new trader, you're an inexperienced trader, if you're seeing this video today, tomorrow, it's 2030, understand that's the reality. That's why I believe it's the best vehicle for new traders. If you are new in this space, learn options. And if you've hung around me long enough and you actually have listened to what I said, you should be able to defend why you're trading options in relationship to other classes. You should be able to. If you have not listened to what I said and applied it, you won't be able to. So somebody come to you and say, hey man, we should trade coin instead of options. You won't be able to say anything to the opposite because you have not paid attention, even though we had hundreds of videos for free for a very long time, options for beginners. Still, you can get in for a very low price point. I taught people really good fundamental analysis. People still buying trash companies. God bless you. You can't say you didn't know no better. But if you are a newbie, you're inexperienced, you haven't spent a lot of time in the space, I believe that options are the best vehicle for new traders. They're going to put you in the best position to be successful. You're going to take the least amount of risk, and there's the most leverage in it. If you stay in this space, and I have videos on this YouTube showing you the snow play, the whole IPO lockup course is based around this concept. If you stay in this space long enough and you actually learn how this stuff works and you get this foolishness out of your head that you've been taught by entertainers, you will write about some of these things, but you get some of this foolishness out of your head that you've been taught by people who just want to entertain you. You will put yourself in a position to where you can make big chunks of money as an options trader. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a woman, she got a YouTube. She and her husband invested in long-term stocks like the VU overall market. Took them 12 years. They got $1 million account now. 12 years. They didn't try to do it in 6 months. They didn't try to do it in 2 years. That's 12 years of them consistently investing. They up $1 million. And they still got a lot more years to work. Because they worked together as a team and they did the same thing every day. They put that money up and they got kids and all that. They still put that money up because they understand how this thing works. So they missed out on all the hot plays. They missed out on all the crypto. They missed out on all of it. They just took this one strategy and they applied this strategy successfully for 12 years. Don't work for everybody, work for them. New people trying to figure out what the hot stock is. It is what it is. God bless them. Hope you get some value from it. Retail Trader, talk to you later.